Good morning and welcome to another edition of Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River and AM 1240 KDEC. My name is Darren Swenson. Glad you're with us once again this week. Our Town is brought to you by Decorah Bank and Trust, as always. A little later on in the program, we will have our swan song interview with Decorah City Manager Chad Bird. Chad is leaving the position on March 22nd, taking over the city manager position in Burlington. We'll also check in with Cindy Petsche from Northeast Iowa Community Action. She will talk about some Head Start opportunities for parents of 3- and 4-year-olds in the 7-county area that Northeast Iowa Community Action services throughout here in Northeast Iowa. But we will kick off the program this morning and get a legislative update and hear from State Senator Mike Klimesh of Spillville. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River and AM 1240 KDEC. Getting our legislative update this week with State Senator Mike Klimesh from Spillville. And Mike, quite a few things to discuss since we talked to you last. One, some potential changes in voting laws in the state of Iowa. In your mind, why are these necessary?
Well, so several of the changes that we made as a result of this legislation were actually changes that were requested by either county auditors or county boards of supervisors. So some of these requests actually date back, like from NEICAC, which represents the county supervisors, back to 2016. That request specifically had to do with shortening up the voting time frame by an hour from going to 9 to 8 o'clock. And then when you talk about the sure count deadlines, those were requested by a bipartisan group, actually, of county auditors that released about a 4-page paper with a list of items they'd like to see changed in the election cycle, and that was one of them. So a lot of what we did there was just following recommendations from auditors and supervisors at the local level to ensure that their election process was mirroring what they wanted to see.
Many people are going to say that you're trying to deny and suppress votes. Your response to that?
Well, I wasn't down here in 2017, but just a history lesson. So in 2017, we did the voter ID law, and of course, everybody said that was going to suppress votes. Roll forward to 2018, a non-presidential year, we had the highest voter turnout for a non-presidential election that we'd seen in the state. And roll forward again to 2020, which boasted the largest voter turnout ever, I think, in the history of the state. So simply by the fact of making some slight adjustments to the voting process doesn't necessarily mean it's going to lead to voter suppression.
A measure has been introduced, I believe, in your chamber about taking on a big tech here in the state of Iowa. And I believe in that press conference that the legislation was introduced, you were in the background of that press conference. What ideas are being put forth to maybe kind of squelch the power that big tech has amassed throughout the last decade or so?
Well, that's a great question. Yeah, I was one of 29 senators that signed on to support that piece of legislation. And actually, Iowa's in the forefront. We're kind of leading the way with this. So what we're doing now is if a person in Iowa decides that their First Amendment rights may have potentially been violated by big tech, they can file a lawsuit, goes through a court process. If the courts find that they were, in fact, had their First Amendment rights violated or infringed upon by big tech, then big tech would lose its tax breaks that's getting throughout the state. And so what some of those equate to right now is several of the big tech companies that operate facilities in the state of Iowa don't pay any sales tax on their electricity or their power consumption. And those are all deals that have been in place since about 2009, if my memory serves me correctly, when those big tech companies started to build facilities in the state. So this legislation would strip away their money. We're hitting them in the pocketbook. So if you're found in a court of law to have tried to suppress the First Amendment rights of an Iowa voter or Iowa person, and it's found, it's a legal finding that that's the case, then we're going to take away some of your tax credits. So like I said, this is kind of unique. There are other states looking at different ways to approach big tech censorship on a state-by-state basis, but I know that Iowa's approach here is unique, and we feel that it's a very strong approach.
Where is this piece of legislation at? How much traction is it getting?
Well, so right now it's moved out of Senate subcommittee, I believe, in a Senate committee, and so it will be probably debated on the floor of the Senate, I would assume, next week. There's some amendments coming to it to shore up any constitutional or legal challenges to it, and so those will be probably head on the floor, and then once we're done here with the Senate, I anticipate it moving on to the House. I'm not sure what they plan on doing with it over there. I have not heard of any communications between leadership to decide how it's going to move forward on the House side. But I would anticipate it, probably leaving the Senate.
Related to the school voucher bill, as it being called by us folks in the media, I know it passed your chamber. It's over in the House right now. There's some talk about breaking up that bill a little bit in the House. What is the latest steam on the ground that you're hearing regarding that bill?
Well, so I know that it's been broken up on the House side. To what extent, I couldn't tell you, Darren. To be honest with you, we're in funnel week down here, and this being my first term, I've got all I can do to keep tabs on what I'm doing over here in the Senate chamber right now. I do hear that over on the House side, they have broken that bill up into what size chunks, I'm not sure. But I do believe I heard that it was either in committee or subcommittee. The charter schools portion was, I think the diversity chunk was, I do believe they intend on looking at or passing the teachers' tax credits and the homeschool tax credits. I'm not sure if those numbers will change. But like I said, there was 8 components to it when we looked at it here, and I believe it's been broken up into 8 different chunks across the rotunda. But again, not sure where that's heading.
You mentioned it is the first funnel week. Is there anything in your mind that you're concerned won't get out of this week that you'd like to still see go on?
Not really. I think we're all working really hard down here. Most of the subcommittee work has been kind of wrapped up. The committees are really pouring it to the coals today, tomorrow, and Friday if necessary to make sure that we don't miss the funnel. I think there's a lot of great bills that are being moved forward. I'm encouraged to see a lot of bipartisan work being done to move good legislation forward, even though we're hitting a funnel wall. So to answer the question, I guess no, I don't see anything that I look at and say, geez, I wish we had a couple more days to get it through. I think we're accomplishing pretty much all of our goals.
One bill that I believe came out of the Senate Human Resources Committee would bar employers from requiring their employees to get COVID-19 shots. Where do you stand on that issue? It's probably more complex than a black or white issue like a lot of us in the media try to break things down, but where do you stand on that issue?
Yeah, I mean, it's a very complicated issue. I think there's a lot of moving parts to that one. I listened to a little bit of the debate on it the other day, just so I could try to educate myself a bit. I know that you're talking about, factory settings versus nursing home and hospital settings and the ramifications or implications of not having vaccinated employees in those locations and the potential exposure. So there's a lot of moving parts to it, Darren. I don't know what that's going to look like when it hits the floor for debate or, what that debate's going to be centered around right now, just because the bill is fairly complex and there's a lot of moving parts to it.
All right, Mike, we appreciate the legislative update. Look forward to talking to you again a couple weeks down the road.
Awesome. Thank you very much for your time, Darren. Have a great day.
Mike Klimesh joining us live from the Capitol in Des Moines. Chatting here with Northeast Iowa Community Action Corporation's Cindy Petsche, and she is discussing Head Start opportunities throughout the area that they serve. Cindy, first of all, what is Head Start and what does it do for young people around the area and really all over?
So Head Start is a free preschool program that we offer in the 7 Northeast Iowa counties that Community Action covers. We currently have 15 different classrooms in those 7 counties. And Head Start serves children who are 3 and 4 years old to give them that preschool experience before they go to kindergarten. They learn many different things. We follow the creative curriculum that we use. We use the TS Gold assessment. There's nutrition and dental and health screenings that are done throughout the year just to make sure that a child is on track. We make sure that they have a current well baby check, they're up to date on their immunizations, that they also go to the dentist to make sure that their teeth are healthy. And it's just a great opportunity for those younger kids to get that preschool experience before they go to kindergarten.
And I know the program has been around for quite some time. What type of feedback have you received to prove that this Head Start program is doing a lot of good?
Yeah, so Head Start's been around since 1965, and we have many parents that are very glad that their children attend our program just to get that experience throughout the year before they go to kindergarten. And they're also glad that it is a free program that we are able to provide parents in case they wouldn't be able to pay for that experience for their child. And kids also get free breakfast, free lunch, and an afternoon snack while they are attending with us.
Who is eligible for this Head Start program? How do people explore the eligibility, and basically how do you sign up for it?
So our family service specialists who are located in each of our 7 counties are the primary contact for the program. And we can, our website shares or offers those contact information for that. There's an application that the family service specialist will complete with the family. We do have income guidelines that we follow, 100% of the federal poverty guidelines, but anyone can fill out an application because there are opportunities for over-income students to attend as well.
And does the Head Start calendar follow the academic year calendar? How does that work?
Yes, we do follow the school year. So we typically begin the same day that the public schools do and end about the same time that they do in May. Another great opportunity that we can offer if students qualify is that we can offer some summer care if families are working more than 28 hours per week or are full-time college students. So the children could also attend through the summer if they qualify and if there's enough students that we can offer that in each of the classrooms. And also speaking of that, we also offer a before and after school program called Extended Day or Wraparound Services, kind of the same qualifications if parents are working or more than 28 hours a week or going to school, they can qualify for services before that 8 or 8:15 start time of school in the morning and could also stay later at the end of the day. So some of our classrooms, we are there from 6 to 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. offering care if kids need it.
As we talk to you here in the first week of March, is this the time of year that if parents have a 3 or a 4-year-old and they're exploring opportunities for next fall, is this the time of year to start signing up for Head Start?
Yes, it absolutely is. We are currently holding some registration dates in our classroom. We've had a couple of them already, and then there's some throughout this month. And that's just a time for parents to come in. They can fill out an application if they want to. They can meet the teacher. In some locations, we are holding those in our classrooms. And in other locations, we are holding them in a community building just because of COVID precautions this year. We're doing it a little different, but still welcoming parents to come in and do that. They can also call the family service office and talk with the family service specialist about getting that done. And we are able to do applications over the phone instead of having to meet face-to-face this year too. So.
And from the time of the application until parents hear whether or not their child is accepted into the program, how long of a process is that?
So if families are filling out applications now and they get all of the documentation that we need to include with that application in, typically, and then we start accepting kids mid to late May for the following school year, if there's enough kiddos for us to take a look at for that center, but that's usually not a problem.
Anything else we need to pass on regarding Head Start opportunities through Northeast Iowa Community Action?
I would just say that, you know, Head Start is a free, full day, all day program. So it is 5 days a week, full day, school day. There is transportation available in some communities for the 4-year-olds to ride the school bus. But otherwise parents would be responsible to get their children to and from the center.
And just like this program and all the other programs Northeast Iowa Community Action is involved with, most of the information on the website. What's that website address?
So our website address is www.NEICAC.org.
Cindy, we appreciate the time and the information that you passed on this morning. We thank you and everybody else at Northeast Iowa Community Action for making a difference in our community and providing these type of opportunities.
And thanks for the opportunity to share our story.
Cindy Petsche from Northeast Iowa Community Action, talking Head Start opportunities in the 7 area counties that they serve. Having a conversation this morning with Decorah City Manager Chad Bird, talking about all things related to the city of Decorah and yourself, Chad. When we had our conversation last month, it was kind of breaking at that time that you have accepted the job as the city manager in Burlington. What all went into that decision, and how tough of a decision was that for you?
Yeah, Darren, thanks. Well, you know, like a lot of these kind of life-altering decisions, it was very tough. The people of Decorah are just wonderful, and I have been blessed to work with just some amazing folks just to better the ideals of this community. That's the hardest part to leave, the relationships that not only I've built professionally, but that Sally and I have built personally, you know, and the things we do, the church family that we have, and just the friends and fellowship that we have here. That's hard. But, you know, what goes into a decision like this, when you just look at opportunities that are presented, you look at additional career challenges and some of the goals that, you know, I'd still like to see for my professional development. Those are some of the things that you have to kind of balance back and forth when making these decisions.
And I wasn't aware of this till this figure got brought up to me professionally a couple of years ago. The average city manager sticks around for about 3 to 5 years. The city of Decorah has had 2 city managers in 30 years. Decorah is kind of the exception instead of the rule, correct?
Yeah, that's true. You know, and I think it speaks very well to the type of community that we have. And, you know, over the years, I've had city managers kind of, you know, chide me a little bit. Hey, when are you moving on? Because I want to move up to Decorah, you know, that type of thing. So Decorah is still very much a gem, and our reputation precedes us in my industry and my profession. And that is certainly evident, like you said, 2 managers in 30 years. That's almost unheard of.
As for the transition plan the city has in place to make sure things keep moving in the right direction, what all goes into that? How are you involved in that? And when does the power turn over to somebody else?
Yeah, the power turnover. I'm not sure it's that, but it's something similar probably. Yeah, so that's something that the council is working towards. And of course, on February 15th, they did appoint City Clerk Treasurer Wanda Hemsat as interim city manager just to help with that transition. So she's going to kind of lead the transition team, if you will. I'll be involved as much as the mayor and the council want me to be. And certainly I'm providing, you know, a notebook of projects that are in the works and my thoughts on other things that are just ramping up or getting started. So that'll probably be my transition, is just leaving some parting words on different things that we're involved in. We did receive here this week the 3rd proposal. So we have 3 proposals to look at hiring a professional consultant to lead the selection process and the identification of the next person. I won't be involved in that process at all. I'll be well on my way down south by the time the council gets engaged in that. But you know, I'm always available. I've told all the staff and the council members I'm available. If there are questions, you know, send an email, make a phone call. I love this place too much to just leave everybody high and dry.
And when you talk about the council getting those requests for proposals from search firms to assist the city in the process, sometimes from the outside looking in, people will say, well, that's the council's job, that's the mayor's job, that's the city's job. Why do we have to pay these people to do their jobs? Based on your knowledge and your experience, why is going with a search firm a better way to do it than just doing all this information on their own, as the council would under the other option?
Yeah, you know, I think the initial aspect of that is that a professional consultant is going to know the best places to begin recruiting. You know, where do you send notices and position profiles? Maybe a consultant actually has a couple of managers from a previous search that they know are looking. And so they can make direct contacts with them and encourage them to apply in Decorah. So that's one of the biggest aspects of it I see, is that they're going to have a network built to be able to identify top candidates that with a good fit for Decorah. The other thing is just, you know, kind of an independent source that can keep the process moving, do the background checks, provide the proper interview questions that relate very well to specifics in Decorah, and just really make sure that it's a good, smooth, professional process.
And how much does the council input play into this process? Because like with anything in life, finding a fit is the goal of everybody involved. Outsiders need to know what that fit is. How do they go about doing that?
Yeah, one of the first things that the consultant will do is sit down with the council and go through the position profile. And that's a multi-page document that not only talks about the community and what types of things are happening in the community, and identifies, you know, the different groups that we have, the SMID and the chamber and the betterment and that. But it also talks about a position profile from the perspective of the city as an organization. How many employees? What's the annual budget? What are some of the goals and strategic planning that the council's put in place? So the consultant will sit down with the council and try to develop this position profile with them. So that's really a great time for the council to identify not only the aspects of our community that we want to shine and showcase in this search, but then what kind of attributes or characteristics is the council and the community looking for in their next leader.
As for the city business going on right now, a couple of construction projects approved this week by the council, one regarding the bridge out on the Old Stage Road. When will that project begin? When will we see some action there?
Actually, Darren, just to correct you, it's on Pole Line Road.
Oh, Old Stage, Pole Line, yeah. I make that mistake
right?
way too often, but I digress. Take two, the bridge on Pole Line Road.
Pole Line Road, yeah, and that's you know, that's a, I don't know, 110-year-old bridge. It's weight embargoed. It's very narrow. So it is a bridge that has been on the city's capital improvement plan list for quite a while. It's been on the DOT's list for quite a while. And the way the DOT bridge funding list works is that they have this master matrix list of projects throughout the state. And, you know, they, based on ratings and inspections, bridges can move up or down that list based on, you know, annual funding from the DOT. And this bridge has now hit that list. And so we've accepted an agreement and an offer for funding from the DOT. And it's good timing because, you know, as we look to establishing, you know, better truck routes and different patterns around town, of course, we just finished Locust Road. So this is the next natural step in improvements as far as, you know, can traffic now come down Locust Road and then turn right and continue out on Pole Line to Highway 52, and we think so. And so this summer we will replace that bridge, so it'll be a fully built bridge with no weight restrictions. It'll be plenty wide. As a matter of fact, it'll have a bike lane, pedestrian lane kind of built into it too. And then we'll take the opportunity to pave as much of the road itself that we can with available funding while we're out there doing that work.
And of course, Dry Run Park got the green light earlier this week from the council. That's been a project that a lot of community members have worked together to develop a park in that part of town. When are we going to see some action on that? And from what I understand, there's a caveat related to sustainability related to this project too. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I'll take the first part as far as constructability in that. The council did award the contract to Wix Construction on Monday night, and so they'll get started here as soon as possible. The contract terms really give them the entire construction season, you know, which is pretty wide open, but that gives them flexibility to come in and do parts of it as, you know, they have time with their crews and that type of thing. So that really presented the best bid environment. And I think that'll be a fine project. The sustainability part is that, you know, there are some plantings, some trees and shrubs. There's a little butterfly garden planted with that. And those things are important because they help with stormwater control and just help with shade and keeping the area cool in that too. So we're still trying to navigate through that. One aspect of that, when you look at planting what we call urban trees, there's an awful lot of concrete and, you know, it's usually not the best environment for trees, but we'll look at making some modifications in this area that can really try to improve the longevity and health of those trees. So that's kind of that component of that.
And I know some sidewalks being discussed and getting a little bit of attention. Once again, it's been an issue long before you started here in the city of Decorah. It's continued to be talked about when it comes to a lot of subdivisions. The plan, from what I understand, is to get some sidewalks up in the Bruning addition, and some of the neighbors up there are planning to fight some of those plans. Where is the city's plans on putting sidewalks up in the Bruning additions? And if property owners have issue with the city's plans, what type of recourse do they have?
Yeah, there's a formalized process for that. There are required public hearings. If the city is going to proceed with compelling the work to be done and then would intend to assess that project cost back to the adjoining property owners, there's a legal process and public hearings that are, you know, make that happen. Part of what we heard on Monday night is really kind of the informal, if you will, hearing process, and there have been several of those. So on Monday night, Ross Hadley, as chair of the street committee, convened that meeting just to hear their representatives speak about the project, about some of the deficiencies they see, and then they presented a couple of alternatives or proposals. So that's all part of the process, and you know, we certainly welcome that public discourse. The council will now need to decide, you know, how are they going to design, redesign, consider the alternate proposals to keep the project moving forward. You know, one of the things during my tenure that we talked about from residents up there is, well, what's the point of having sidewalks within our subdivision if they don't connect anywhere else in town? And they were not wrong in that assessment. And so part of this project makes some of those connections. And so we had proposed to improve some of the crosswalks and some of the intersections along Park Street and extend sidewalk all the way up to Phelps Park so that there is connectivity there. And of course, that's all work that the city would be doing because the vast majority of it is across city parkland. And the city's street policy right now, or sidewalk policy, says that the city will take care of intersection and crosswalk work. And so that would all be part of that project to make that connectivity.
From what I understand, also a couple of openings right now in the Municipal Electric Utility Task Force. A couple of people that were appointed to that task force have decided to not remain on that task force. What is the plan to replace those people? Could the task force go on just without replacing those people? If people are interested in joining that task force, what should they do?
Yeah, I know the MEU task force and the Sustainability Commission have been trying to recruit some folks to kind of fill those two spots. I've advised the mayor, just in my opinion, that it's not crucial that there are 9 people on that task force. That was the initial appointment from the city council, was that there were 9 people. They can certainly continue their work and should, and I suspect that they are with 7 people. And so I really advise the mayor not to be overly concerned with identifying 2 people to fill those seats. Let's continue with the work that the task force is doing. They'll find you know, some very qualified candidates in due time, and if those folks present themselves, that's a council appointment. So it might be a recommendation from the task force itself or the Sustainability Commission if applicants do arise, but it is a council appointment.
Based on your years in government, is there a possibility of some of these commissions and committees and task force getting too big? Like, is there a number where there's a perfect number of people to provide input on certain issues? Is it possible to have too many people on some of these commissions and task force? I know the County Planning and Zoning Commission eliminated a couple of people on their spot. Is that a possibility? Is that a concern ever in government?
Yeah, it is, and I know when the council was discussing the whole idea of an MEU task force, the number of seats on that was discussed. Darren, I don't know if there's an ideal number. I think it might depend on the subject matter or the charge of the commission. And through the city as an organization, we have the Board of Adjustment, that's 5 members. We have Planning and Zoning, that's 7 members. So that can be somewhat fluid, and I think it just depends on maybe the technical nature of that board or commission. I do think, and as you noted, 9 or more, 12, 13, that's a lot of people just to coordinate even technically, and it's a lot of voices at the table. Again, I think it depends on the subject matter and whether that's really warranted. 7 seems to work well. I don't know if that's ideal, but it certainly is a number that we're all kind of accustomed to, at least in Decorah.
And in 2021, the more people you got on these committees, the smaller the Zoom box gets too, right?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
So, and as for yourself, Chad, I believe your technical resignation date is going to be March 22nd. Is that the date you're planning to wrap up what you can here in the city of Decorah?
Yeah, and I picked that date for a couple of reasons. One, my wife really encouraged me to have a little bit of a gap between Decorah and Burlington, right? So she's much wiser than I am. So I'll have that. I report down there on April 5th. Of course, that gives us time to not only move and get things coordinated that way, but it gives me a little bit of a time to just kind of download and recharge for the next stage. But it also was kind of deliberate on my part because it gets us through the final, the monthly meetings and, that whole cycle of things. And so that last week of the month is really kind of a downtime. So it made sense that I can help transition through all of our board and commission meetings for the last time and then kind of have a little bit of a gap there before things ramp up again in April.
As a married man for 8 months, listening to the wife, I've known that's a wise thing to do, and I've gotten to know that pretty well over the last 8 months and a little bit before that as well. Anything we're missing here this morning, Chad?
No, Darren, just except for me to say, it's been a pleasure working with you and all of our media folks. Again, it's, the people are what is going to be the hardest to leave in Decorah. People here are just wonderful. They've treated me very, very well. We haven't always seen eye to eye with, everything and everybody, but I know that no matter what the discussions are and the passions, people have Decorah at their best interests at heart. And that's what's so unique about this community is that there's just a lot of passion for the things that we do. And
the whole thing is people sometimes don't see eye to eye, and maybe it happens more often in Decorah than other communities, but that's government in action, isn't it? That's right. That's right. Can't please all the people, right? So. Exactly. Well, Chad, since this will be our final conversation, at least publicly, I want to thank you for always being professional with us media jackals, no matter how silly the questions we are and how annoying we get at times, and I'm sure we do. And that's credit to you on how you handle your job, and it's been a pleasure working with you as well, and we definitely wish you the best of luck in your next step in the city of Burlington. Yeah, Darren, thank you very much. Chad Bird, Decorah City Manager, for the final time on Our Town. Our thanks to our guest on the program this morning, State Senator Mike Klimesh of Spillville, also Cindy Petsche from Northeast Iowa Community Action, talking about Head Start opportunities as well as Decorah City Manager Chad Bird. Chad's appeared on this program on a pretty regular basis for the last 8 years, and we appreciate his willingness to do so. And Chad will be leaving that position on March 22nd to take over the city manager position in the city of Burlington. So we appreciate him joining us this week and every other week throughout the history of this program. Don't forget, we are now putting these shows up on YouTube. You can click the link on the River Facebook page and actually see our town on a weekly basis. Our thanks to our guest, our thanks to our sponsor, Decorah Bank and Trust, and our thanks to you for tuning in or logging on to listen to another edition of Our Town on 94.9 and 99.1 The River and AM 1240 KDEC.